Let me ask you something. What makes you do the right thing when you know for a fact that nobody's watching? It's a huge question, right? Well, today we're diving into ethics, which is basically the toolkit we use to figure out how we ought to live. Let's jump in. Okay, so picture this. You're walking down the street, and the person in front of you, totally oblivious, drops their wallet. You look around, nobody else saw it. So what's your move? Do you call out to them, return it, or do you just kind of slip it into your pocket? Seriously, just for a second, what does your gut tell you to do? You feel that? That little tug of war in your head? That voice asking, what's the right thing to do here? That right there, that's the start of ethics. It's the moment we stop just acting and start asking what our actions should be. And believe it or not, that's what this whole field of study is about.
Now, before we get too deep, we gotta clear something up. People throw around the words ethics and morality like they're the same thing. But for what we're doing here, there's a really important difference. So let's map out the territory.
First, let's talk about morality. Think of your morality as your personal rule book. It's all the stuff you've picked up from your family, your friends, your culture. You know, the do's and don'ts you've absorbed about what's good and what's bad. It's the code that's already running in your head. Ethics, though, is the next step. Ethics takes that rule book of yours, puts it on the table, and starts asking questions. Like, wait a minute, is this rule actually fair? Does it make sense? Why do we even follow this in the first place? Ethics is the deep, critical thinking about the rule book. It's the why behind it all. So here's the easy way to remember it. Morality is the what. It's the rules we live by every day. Ethics is the why. It's the process of stepping back and asking if those rules are any good. One is the game you're playing, the other is the commentary on that game. And this gets us to that classic line from Socrates, the unexamined life is not worth living. That's exactly what ethics is for. It's the tool we use to examine our own lives. It's about moving beyond just blindly following the rules and becoming someone who consciously chooses their values for really good reasons. All right, so if we're going to examine our rule book, we have to realize pretty quickly that not all rules are created equal. Some rules are, well, a much bigger deal than others. The next step is figuring out which ones are the moral standards, the ones that really matter. I mean, think about it. There are moral standards, right? Things like being honest or fair. If you cheat on a test, that feels wrong on a deep level. But then you've got non-moral standards, like fashion rules or table manners. Using the wrong fork at dinner might be embarrassing, but I don't think anyone would call it immoral. See the difference? So what gives these moral standards so much weight? Well, there are a few things that make them stand out. For one, they deal with really serious stuff, actions that can genuinely help or hurt people. Second, we tend to think they're more important than other rules. Honesty should probably win out over, say, a fashion trend. Third, they feel universal. If stealing is wrong for me, it's got to be wrong for you too, in the same boat. And finally, they aren't just rules because someone in charge said so. They stand on their own because there are good reasons behind them. And that brings us to the absolute bedrock of this entire conversation. We've been talking about choices, reasons, and doing the right thing, but none of it, literally none of it, means anything without one key ingredient: freedom. It's really simple when you think about it. We can only say an action is good or bad, right or wrong, if the person had the freedom to choose it. An animal acts on instinct, right? But we humans have this incredible capacity to make a conscious choice. And that ability to choose is what makes the whole moral game possible. There's actually a term for this. It's called moral agency. It's what makes us moral beings. It means we can understand what we're doing, we can choose to do it, and because of that, we can be held accountable for it. Back to that wallet on the street, your ability to actually choose what to do in that moment, that's your moral agency at work. But we have to be careful about what we mean by freedom, because there are two totally different ways to look at it. There's freedom as a license, which is just doing whatever you want, whenever you want, just following your impulses. But then there's freedom as responsibility, and that's about using your power of choice to aim for what's actually good and right. It's a huge difference. True freedom isn't about having no rules, it's about having the power to choose the right ones. So, we've unpacked a lot here: morality versus ethics, the rules that matter, and why freedom is the foundation for everything. But this isn't just theory. Let's bring this all back home to you and your life. So, I want you to really think about this. When you're all alone, when there's no one to impress and no one to judge you, what's your compass? What are the principles you're actually steering your life by? And what about your choices, day in and day out? Are they acts of real, responsible freedom, things you've thought about and chosen with intention? Or are a lot of them just knee-jerk reactions, driven by whatever you feel in the moment? And in the end, this is why studying ethics is so important. It's not just some boring class. To study ethics is to study what it actually means to be human. We're not just robots programmed to follow a code. We are beings who can think, who can choose, and this is the most amazing part, who can actually grow into better, wiser people.